Well, hi. Today is Friday, June 20th, 2025. I'm Todd Studer, and this is Morning Coffee. Had a great time last night at the Council Bluffs Farmers Market, and then again at the bike night on the 100 block. All kinds of wonderful activities going on in Council Bluffs as we get summer underway officially. It's been feeling it lately too, huh? It's been kind of warm outside, but it's summertime. That's what you're supposed to expect. And next bike night on the 100 block will be coming up on the third Thursday of July. I look forward to seeing you there. And of course, thank you to everyone who came over and said hello at the Council Bluffs Farmers Market last night. Wonderful, wonderful time, and really had a great time talking with everybody. And it's kind of just turned into a way to keep in contact with some of my friends because that's where we're at on Thursdays. Starts at 4:30 and runs until 7:30 every Thursday. Runs along First Avenue on the north side of Bayless Park. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with Dave Zimmerman, market president in Council Bluffs for Availa Bank. Get some great financial tips from Dave, and also we talk about what's going on in the community of Council Bluffs. Dave is he's a champion here in Council Bluffs for advancing the community and for wanting to grow Council Bluffs, and I'm a big supporter of that. So you'll be able to hear that conversation coming up in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, if you have a leak, a clogged drain, or planning a big remodel, Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs has you covered. Fast, reliable service and expert craftsmanship, handling everything from small repairs to major installations. And if your air conditioner has been on the fritz, just not cooling things down the way that it should, get a hold of AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning in Council Bluffs, and they can it'll come out and do a service call, see what's going on, and be able to help you out. So when integrity matters, Waldstein Plumbing and AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning in Council Bluffs. If you're looking to elevate your wrestling game, join the best wrestler in Council Bluffs, where champions are forged. Founded by Olympian George Ivanoff and his father, elite coach Ivan Ivanoff, the club is built on three pillars: wrestling, academics, and career. Train with world-class coaches who've produced Olympians, world champions, and national title holders. Their state-of-the-art facility at the Iowa West Fieldhouse offers programs for all ages and skill levels. So whether you're aiming for the podium or just personal growth, the best wrestler is your path to excellence. Visit thebestwrestler.com. And if you're looking for a laid-back spot with great food and even better company, come to the Mile Away in Council Bluffs. This family-run bar and grill is your go-to for mouth-watering wings, unbeatable weekly specials, and a welcoming atmosphere that feels like home. Whether you're catching the game or you're out there tonight in Glitch for the comedy show, or maybe just unwinding after a long day, the Mile Away has you covered. They're located north of Council Bluffs on Old Lincoln Highway. It's the perfect place to relax and enjoy good times. Follow them on Facebook for all the latest events and specials. The Mile Away, where great food and great people come together. We welcome in this morning Dave Zimmerman, Council Bluffs Market President at Availa Bank. Good to see you again, sir. Always a pleasure when I get a chance to talk to you. And I'm also, as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at that picture that's over your shoulder of, I know of downtown Council Bluffs. It's, I love history, and I know that that's a big part of everything that's there.
Yeah. When we built this building, we came into this building in 2008, and we worked with the library and the Union Pacific Museum to help us identify some historical pictures in Council Bluffs, and both were great helps to do that. And we selected several throughout the building that try to just show some of the older history and things that have changed over the years. And that one there is a nice picture of East Broadway kind of swinging around just before the curve, and you can see the church in the background in there. It's a nice picture. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's we've lost so much history, which I think is so much makes it so much more important to preserve what we have. And I know you've been instrumental in helping out with a lot of that. But I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about, well, interest rates have, you look back to when COVID hit, which I think is our entire existence is now before and after COVID. It's
Right.
kind of like a fulcrum in life, and whether it be personal or whether it be professional. But from my vantage point, it looks like things have stabilized a little bit. Is that accurate? Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think, it's hard to say stable in today's world, right? What could be today, tomorrow, but you're exactly right. We came from a period of the lowest interest rates that we'd really ever seen coming through the early COVID years, to where rates jumped up as fast as we've ever seen them jump in a short amount of time. So it took everybody some time just to get their legs under them, banks and consumers and business owners trying to plan and project. And we've come off of those highs. And I think people are getting a feel for where things sit today. Um, I think there's a mindset, there's a feeling of confidence in the market, business confidence, which is always good to have. And I think there's a bit of a hope that maybe rates might start to slide a little bit as we head the second half of the year. But I think as it sits today, it's nice to say, okay, mortgage rates aren't 8% anymore. We're looking, in the low sixes, low to mid sixes, depending if you're 15 or 30 year. And that's probably that's a nice place to be. I say when you're planning for business and rates are at 8%, there's not a lot of room for error. You've got to be a good manager. Not a lot of things go wrong. If rates are in the 6% range, say 5 to 6.5, 7, you can have a few mistakes happen, and if you're a good manager, things will be okay and get through it. But when rates were 3.5, 3%, man, everything works. You could you could mess up all over the place and it works, and that doesn't always make for a great market long term. So we're probably about where we need to be, maybe just a hair high from where some would like to be, but stability is good.
Yeah, I think that consumer confidence is it's one of those buzz terms that I think people don't really think about what that means, but it comes down to how secure does a person feel in a decision they're making today still being the right decision tomorrow. And it's hard to know that. I don't think there's any way to make it 100% sure about that, but still, when interest rates have been a little more on the steady side, people can feel a little better about it.
Well, exactly. If you can plan a little bit, if you have that time to plan, and when you have a bit of stability, allows you maybe to plan and project some. It's when things are just going wild one direction or the other or back and forth that makes it more challenging to have some of those plans. And same thing, with vacations. You're going to plan for this vacation, yes or no. But if ever you are feeling nice and calm and you want a little anxiety in life, just open up your phone and check social media, and I'm sure you'll get it quickly, right? One way or the other. Um, but yeah, no, I think it's a time maybe there's a lot of thought, and I bet there's even betting markets around what might happen with interest rates. But I think there's thought that there we could be approaching maybe a slightly declining interest rate environment, whether that's the second half of this year or early next year. I can't see that future, but the thought would be maybe that could occur. So as people are trying to plan, you got to make your own decision. I'm not a financial advisor, but it might be time to consider. Okay, should I think about with my savings locking money up a little bit longer term than that 3 month or 6 month certificate of deposit, and think longer term. Well, if that fits your long term goals, you might consider that. If you're looking at buying that house, do you or selling your house today, those are things to consider. Talk to your real estate agent, and they'll advise you on that. But we're seeing a few more houses on the market as we try to pay attention to the market, and they're sticking around a little bit longer than they had been. So the seller's market, I think, if it's not totally over, it's approaching over, and it's probably more the equilibrium has maybe come back. So probably a healthy environment, and people can buy and sell, and the rates are I think people would love rates start with a 5 on when you're talking about a mortgage. They're not quite there yet, but they've dropped to the mid to low sixes, and that things can get done. And the houses are more affordable at that than what they had been at 8. So the stability factor, I feel like this year we've achieved that, and without any wild swings up or down, I think that would be good. I think everything in moderation would be nice. I just don't want us to get behind the curve. I think and I don't want to be a Fed official. I don't want to be an economist. I don't want to be a politician. Those are things I don't want to be in life. But it seems that a lot of times rate decisions come late. And I would love to not be late, whichever the right direction is to move. It'd be nice just to keep it even keel without a lot of disruption in the markets would be my ideal scenario.
Well, I know that, no, I mean, obviously, politics would not be a world that I would want to go to in
Oh,
either. However, you are a big believer in community, and you're a big believer in giving back to your community. And one of those things that you're talking about is with the housing market and having more available, that is an indicator as to the health of a community. And we have really struggled in that late as of late. So it's good to know that you're starting to see a little bit of it coming back somewhat. People having some options.
yeah, I agree. It speaks to that confidence, right? So you've got builders and folks that start to say, okay, I think the wild actions of high rates and quickly moving rates are maybe behind us. So it becomes more predictable for budgets to be built and those sorts of things. And there's a few developments that are going to be coming online here later this year, which is great to see. Um, you know, and we need our community to continue to grow. And when you say grow, some people I think maybe think that could be a bad thing because growth means change. Well, some growth and change is good. Maybe we don't need it at breakneck speeds or we can't keep up, but we need to grow the community so that we continue to have good jobs for the community. I think about, just we need good jobs. We need good amenities and services. And, if a community continues to shrink, then all of a sudden, can we support two hospitals? Can we support, the number of banks and real estate companies that we have and things related to finance and industry? Can we support those? Well, if we're a shrinking community, we're not going to be looked at by people trying to invest in areas, and we don't want to be overlooked. So I think it's important that when we say grow, we don't mean grow in a way where it's not manageable. When I have good managed growth and good opportunity for expansion, to bring people to our community and young people too. Our community, and I love council. It's been here my whole life. I love everything about it. Uh, but we are an aging community. When you look at the stats, and yesterday, I don't know if you were at the chamber semi-annual meeting yesterday, but they had a presentation that was kind of shocking with just kind of age stats, our population in general, and it talked about different employment. And it was some of that. To me, it was good to see, good to understand. It wasn't good or bad. It was just good to understand what the data is. And you look at that and say, okay, well, what does that mean for us to grow as a community? Or what does it mean if we shrink as a community? And the scariest part is to think if we shrink, the things that we could lose. We could lose police force. We could lose fire department. We could lose the services that are necessary, to protect the people in our community and to serve. We don't want that. But if we grow and we can keep these developments going and increase the tax base, well, then we can increase, those services for our community, and then bring in new industry. The thing that I like to think about with Council Bluffs is, when we have all these kids graduate and go off to 4-year schools or trade schools or whatever, I want them to come back and put their roots here. But we have to have places for them to work to do that. Um, so hopefully, as there's things that come up before the city council and things that come up in the community for opportunities, we can think about that and try to think in a way of good managed growth so that Council Bluffs can be relevant, for years to come.
I think that all of that is very, very important, what you're talking about. And one of the things, as far as the age of the population and what I have seen at various talks over the past several months, is that adults with young school age children, that population is really shrinking. And it talks about who is coming back afterwards and where they're going to raise their families. Now, you look across the river in Omaha and you see the expansion to the west, and you see new developments going up constantly, and new housing and new businesses and everything just moving west. So from a completely uneducated mind like mine, the first thing would be, well, why can't we just go east? But we're kind of landlocked in with with the terrain and the type of ground that we have here, so that makes it different. And something that just occurred to me recently is, can we go north and south? Is that a possibility? I don't know. I mean, it's going to take smarter people than me, but I do know it's exactly what you're talking about. Is you're either growing or you're declining. There is no status quo because the population's aging.
Right.
And that I've talked about it on this show many times, and I think I've talked about it with you, that I have seen communities go into extreme decline, and to the point that there's probably not bringing them back. I would hate to see that happen to Council Bluffs. We're not on the brink of that. I don't think that we're, it's not as if it's going to happen immediately. But if you don't plan for it now, then you're dealing with that problem down the road.
Right. Because you can't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden have 100 families with kids just appear. So it takes time. We've got to bring them in, one at a time, build a setting that is, desirable for those groups. And I think people are having fewer kids, number one, and they're having them later in life, number two. And, but maybe if you've got a community that is affordable, has wages enough, that can afford, the things around you, maybe then that burden financially doesn't restrict people, with the number of kids and those sorts of things too. Something that they announced yesterday, and I assume because they announced it there, it's free to talk about it anywhere, but Iowa West announced a survey, and here's the card. I don't know if anybody can capture that card. There we go. But this is a card they handed out yesterday. And if you click on that, it's a community survey and I think this is really cool because a lot of times I think people feel unheard. You can get information if you go to a city council meeting or you read it in the paper, but how do you get your voice out, right? They're doing a community survey where everybody is invited to do this survey. And there's going to be a variety of questions about Council Bluffs, about future. And I haven't seen the survey, but they want to hear from everybody. Why are you here? What do you like? All those sorts of questions. And it's not just business leaders, it's not just people that are in currently in the work environment. They want to hear from retired folks. They want to hear from kids in high school. They want to hear from new parents. They want to hear from people in every aspect. So everybody that lives in Council Bluffs, even people that work in Council Bluffs and live in Omaha, or live in Council Bluffs and work in Omaha, they want all dynamics of this. So as many people that can click on and fill this survey out, they're going to try to get real information from the people in the community so that we can, number one, find out what do people like, what do people want, so that we can focus around those things as we develop our community. It makes sense that we should try to develop the things that the people that live here want. So I think it's a great idea. I hope it's wildly successful. I think they said the survey will be open through August. Don't quote me on that, but it'll be open for a period of time here. And they're going to really start getting the word out in multiple venues. So I would say anybody that's watching this, please seek that survey out. Please fill it out. The more feedback, the better. It's an opportunity for all citizens to say, hey, this is my thoughts and my opinion. And it'll be tabulated. And that's great. You don't get that often. It's the first one I've ever heard of.
What I really like about what you just said, Dave, is that what do you like? Because it's too easy to focus on what you don't like. And it's not as if you ignore problems. It's not that. But by identifying what you want and what you like, now that puts a positive spin on it. And I've said many times, the purpose of this show is to shine a light on the positive, to make the negative be less comfortable around it. And I still believe that. And that's part of that. What is it that you like about Council Bluffs? What more can we see? It's it's low hanging fruit to complain, but to talk about what is good, and we have a lot of things that are good. That is where we like this. Let's do more of this, and that gives me a lot of encouragement as to what you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah, I think keeping the momentum going with variety of things is good. And what I like about 2025 is there's been a lot of discussion about, what can we do in Council Bluffs? And it's been followed up. It's not just one thought, hey, let's do this, and then it's never really discussed. There's been a lot of follow up to continue it on. And that's what's necessary is sometimes people just throw something at the wall and if it sticks, great. And if not, so what? But we've got a very, I think, systematic way of saying, okay, let's continue on this path to try to keep our community growing and better. And what can we improve on? And that's what I like about the feeling about this year. And I think you've got folks that are you know influential in the community that really love our community. They're trying to lend their experience and their expertise to help keeping things moving. And I think this survey is a great addition to that. I think what some of the ideas that have been floated in town are good and they need to continue. So I would encourage people get into the city council, listen about it. And it's funny. Have you ever seen a social media post where somebody posts something and everything's positive? No, somebody, like you said, somebody always wants to, interact in a way that's opposite or negative, and it's probably human nature. But I read about some of this won't work, this won't work. It's like, well, or could we just try to, I like to solve problems. I mean, math is a thing. So rather than say it won't work because, maybe we can say, well, how can we solve this issue that maybe you've identified? What's the solution for that? How can we mitigate that? And if we can switch that frame of reference, that mindset a little bit to solving those issues rather than just identifying them and leaving them there, I think that's maybe a turn that I'm feeling a little bit, in 2025, and I hope it continues.
Another comment that I've never seen in the history of the internet is, wow, I never looked at it that way. I see your point.
Right. Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
Even if you don't agree with somebody, it's just everything just kind of seems to descend down to the lowest common denominator, and it's just people artificially yelling at each other, saying things that you would never say if you were sitting across the table in a coffee shop.
Right.
So that's you're exactly right about that. And I'm also in 100% agreement that information is a good thing, and doing this survey and finding this information out. What do the citizens want that are here? Or are you thinking about coming here, and what are the different things that appeal to you and that you're looking for? What goes into that decision as to will you be moving to Council Bluffs or not? And it has to be more than just, is there a house available? Is there everything else that goes along with it? So I'm encouraged that we're seeing this kind of movement. We're seeing wanting to gather that information, because we're not at the decision making point right now. I don't think that, are we going to be making any wholesale changes or any minor changes? We got to find out exactly what is needed.
Yeah, I think so. And there's been a lot of studies done, and there's been projects floated. And I think a recent one, a large one that was proposed, didn't pass through the council. But I'm hopeful that whatever questions were desired, those can be addressed and information disseminated, so we can have another discussion about, well, is this the best path forward? Is it a version of this? But we've got to have housing to bring people in, but amenities are important as well. How many places on the planet can you go where you've got a bluff on one side, and you've got a lake that's nice in there, and you've got a river, and then you got flatlands. I mean, it's all right here. And then we've been building out. I think we talked once before about the trail system that's being built out.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. I think Lake Manawa is continuing to beautify that area and raise the prominence there. We got Crescent Ski Hill, that's real close. Like, well, you can go skiing in Iowa. Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's possible. So all kinds of cool things. And then, the school systems, I think, are continuing to try to innovate in how best to educate the kids and keep their facilities up to par. with technology, and which is a huge challenge. I think being a school administrator in today's world would be difficult. Think about teachers. I think teachers, jobs that would be tough. I'd put teachers up there with politicians at times. I think that, it's a challenging job, and hopefully those teachers feel rewarded and can see the impact that they're making in kids' lives, because it is truly important. Maybe not talked about enough, so maybe this will go viral and teachers will feel good about themselves. But no, just so much good in our community and the beautification projects that have occurred. Not a lot of communities have that type of pride, and we do. And hopefully, not hopefully, I know that momentum will continue, because there's a remnant of people really pushing for that. And that's going to grow. So,
Dave, you're one of those people, and I'm very grateful anytime I get a chance to talk to you. And some wonderful information today, from the financial end to just the state of the community. And I'm looking forward to learning more as we move forward with this. But again, thank you very much for your time.
Next time we talk, I want to hopefully talk about the fish I catch. My son has just been fishing like crazy and having all kinds of luck. So he and I are going out here, and we're going to see if I'm anywhere close to as good at it as he is.
That sounds like that's the types of goals we need. Exactly right. All right, Dave. Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
The 4th of July is just around the corner. You probably already started to hear some fireworks. That's a whole different conversation. But S&B Country Kennel wants you to know that if you're looking for a safe place for your dog, they have it for you to get away from all of the fireworks noise. We know it can be really, really rough on pets. So go to sbcountrykennel.com. By the way, country spelled with a K. And you can learn more about what it is that they can do for you there and your dog. And Just Sue Creative can help you build your business with website design, search engine optimization, content creation, marketing, everything you need to take your company to the next level. Sue Pitts has a passion for small businesses, helping them thrive in a digital world. And a great starting point is by visiting her website, justsuecreative.com, and click on that free consultation button. That's going to wrap up the show for today. Again, thanks to Dave Zimmerman from Availa Bank for being our guest. We got a lot of great interviews coming your way next week, and I'm looking forward to a relaxing weekend, and then we will get back to it on Monday morning. My name's Todd Studer. We'll see you here then.